What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the Italian Stallion, here for another episode of Rebels with a Cause. You know what time it is, baby. It's time for that cause. Wednesday night. It's Rebels with a Cause because the cause don't stop when that clock hits zero. We've got an exciting show for you tonight. Another guest. We've got our first former Lady Rebel. And here's the thing. Not only was she a part of Bridge Builders, she was also like a star in musical theater. You may have seen her in Once Upon this Island. She stole the show that night, along with everybody else that was part of that beautiful cast there. Miss Howe, shout out to Miss Howe, sophomore year. It would have been this girl's junior year. But not only that, she was also a basketball cheerleader. And anybody that says that cheerleading's not a sport, why don't you do as many push-ups as they do and all the routines and, staying in shape, the stretching. It's just incredible. And so she is our first former, and that's how it's going to be introduced when she joins the show officially. Got some housekeeping I got to do before we bring her on properly, but I hope everybody tunes in tonight. And what we all want to talk about. You have questions for our guest. We want to talk some sports too. We got the Final Four set. Tennessee came up short in that Elite Eight game, but truth be told, I think these are the four best teams. All year they've been consistent. Love them or hate them. There's a couple of big name teams there, obviously with their history. You've got a Final Four that there will be a coach winning his first national title. Some have coached longer than others, so that's a big deal. Another thing too is that I think that these games are going to show the best of the best: offense versus defense, strength versus strength, depth. Who coaches that know each other very well, rematches from regular season, excuse me, or tournaments past. So, like I said, we'll talk about that. Got some news for West football. We've got the spring scrimmage, so I'll put that up there, the date and time, because I want everybody there, whether you're an alum, player. Let's show up. Pack Bill Wilson Field. It's going to be a fun Friday. May the 9th, Friday night at 6 o'clock. And obviously we will be there live to recap the game and just hope that we see everybody. Maybe even do some grilling, do some burgers. It'll be some fun times, reminisce and share some stories and show the 2025 Rebels, who I believe it done 3 and 4 years. Just remember that. You heard it here first from the Italian Stallion. But that being said, want to start off with some housekeeping stuff. The views and opinions of this program are not affiliated with those of any other organization or of West High School. These are solely the RWAC Crew's views. That's myself, the Italian Stallion, two-pair Tate, Brian Tate, and also our stats guy coach himself, Mr. Shane O'Mac. Also, please join that chat box live and point out if we've missed something wrong. We're human. It's live. We can't just go back on it, but at the same time participate. We want to hear from you and what you're thinking about what's going on with sports these days. Also got to give some love to a couple sponsors. I want to give a shout out to a fellow West High alum from the class of 2003, Mr. Alex Thatcher, and his Knoxville Coffee Company there off of the Sutherland Avenue in the heart of Marble City. That brew is good any time of the day. Go pay them a visit. Let them know that Rebels with a Cause sent you. Also, can you believe it, guys? We are in April, and that means that it's getting close to prom. So if you've not gotten a date, gotten your ticket, gotten your dress, you better get on it, honestly, because it's coming up. But more than anything, I want to give a shout out to Razor Shop Barber Shop in Knoxville. See Josh Fink or Corey. Also, April 26th, haircuts for prom with Miss Rice. Make you look good. So just keep that in mind. Also want to give a shout out to Big Facts Sports Network. Follow 332 Studios. They're doing some amazing things there. So go pay them a visit. So there we go. Without further ado, though, I want to bring on our guest, like I mentioned, the star of many plays, like Once Upon This Island. I believe she was in Clue as well. Two Pair was in a lot of these as well, and I'm sure when he jumps on, he'll reminisce with her about those great acting days. Mentioned part of Bridge Builders. I believe she was student council president her senior year, even freshman year. But most importantly, not only a cheerleader, but just one of the most likable, sweetest, caring people. Represents what a West High rebel, lady rebel, doesn't matter, is all about. Was one of the kindest people to welcome me to West when I made the transition from Bearden to West in that musical theater class. And most importantly, because of that kindness, the hard work and everything she put in there, she was Miss 2001 West. So whether you're watching this live or recorded, give her a standing ovation, a round of applause. She is a mama to some future rebels too, which I'm really excited to see what they do when school. But without further ado, let's bring her on, the lovely, the only Miss Tennion Reed.
Oh my gosh,
Woo!
I peaked in high school with that introduction for
Throwing
sure.
up that W is what we do here. So I love it. I love it. So
A WFL as I captioned.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Matter of fact, let me take that banner down real quick so we can see that headline. I like that so more than anything. So
No, thank you for that. That was over the top. And
oh
no, I did Bye Bye Birdie once on this island. And
yeah.
those are the two. I didn't do Clue, but I definitely appreciate that introduction. It was so over the top. It's so sweet. And yes, I'm
Oh
so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
no, honestly, thank you for taking the time. I mean, with everything that you've got going on, being a mom and, with your job and everything, and it's a Wednesday night of all things in the middle of the week. Thank you for taking the time to come on. Um, you know,
Let me just stop you and say have some recent dental work. So if I'm talking a little and you don't understand me, just let me know.
Oh, no. Hey, listen,
Okay.
it's okay. I hear you perfectly clear.
Okay.
Glad to have you on. I want to apologize because I know that Brian had something going on in the recording studio. He said he was going to be a little bit late. Shane, unfortunately, has got something going on in his personal life, and he couldn't make it tonight either. But I still wanted to have you on because I've been waiting a year for this to come on. I believe Troy Smith was on, and we were talking about having other former players or former rebels on the program, and we were name dropping, and the minute they said your name, I said yes, yes. And so just like Tommy Whitten, it was well worth the wait for a year, dear,
No,
honestly. So
thank you
thank
for
you so
having
much
me.
for coming on.
No, thank you. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me.
Tinian, the first thing I'm going to ask you more than anything is, what do you remember from your days at West? Like because you were so involved. You told me something off camera. That your parents were busy working late and so forth. So you and your sister seemed to really be involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. Talk about your experience with those extracurricular activities and maybe why you chose those in particular. Like what drew your heart to those causes?
Well, I think what was really cool was we also were talking off camera about how my two of my older sisters went to West, and that's Trillia and Barbara. And watching them kind of navigate those opportunities like student government and or FCA or junior achievement, just 4-H, any opportunities that they went through, whether it be dance team, cheerleading, marching band, concert band, chorus. I got to experience those things, go to those events and chorus concerts, and say, okay, well, I do want to do this. I don't want to do that. But my parents, like I said, instilled in us this idea that being active and being a part of the school is important. It's important in your development, even beyond them working late. They believed in us being holistically developed kids, and that was really cool to be able to experience. But I chose some of the things that I did based on my interests. My father passed away in like the fall of my freshman year from throat cancer. And so it really was bummy, but he really liked my voice. I didn't always like to sing, but I could, and so he really wanted me to be like a jazz contemporary artist, and so it was funny. But I was a '90s, '80s, '90s baby, so I wanted to do like the R&B grind, if I did
Oh
music.
man,
But whatever, Mariah
preach, speak to
Carey.
me. I love that R&B. Yeah, come on. So
So, but no, so
yeah, yeah.
he, after his passing, I was like, I really didn't have any interest in music. But then when they did the musical theater program, and I think it was because of it seemed like it would be fun, and so I chose to do that, and it actually ended up being one of the most memorable experiences from West, from the theater teacher, Miss Leslie, maybe. I can't, I know she was a brunette.
Miss Howe, Miss Howe, Miss Howe.
Miss
Yeah.
Howell,
Miss Howe. Yeah.
and then Lisa, Miss Lisa. I can't believe I remember their first names, but Miss Howell was
Mhm.
the chorus
Was the
singer.
course, yeah, and she did
But
musical
then,
theater. Yeah, Lisa
yeah,
Howe was her full
but
name, I believe.
then
Yeah.
there was Miss Leslie, who was the
Yeah,
theater
she was the
teacher.
actor. She was the theater
So
teacher.
yeah, so
Yes,
both
yes,
of them though,
yeah.
they really really inspired us. I don't know how um they did it, but they made some mediocre kids. Some of, like Lakita and Michael and James, and some of these kids, and of course Claudette. These kids were phenomenal, but as a whole cast, I'm mediocre. I was mediocre, believe me, in comparison, and they made us act like real actors. That was pretty cool.
Mhm.
I absolutely loved watching back and watching the old VHS of that performance, especially the very
I
first
have it. I
one.
have it on VHS too.
Yo,
Well,
that was
well,
good.
can I stop you real quick before you say mediocre about you guys? Then I don't know what the hell I was, because here's what happened.
No, we were all
Here I
in
was
it
all state.
together, mediocre.
Yeah, but here's what happened. So as I've talked about on the show, I of course got kicked out of Bearden and came to West. It's no big secret. It's not a secret anymore now. But the thing was because I was so depressed that summer. A lot of people don't know this. I lost my voice. I was once all state chorus. In fact, I was in the running for Tevier because Bearden was going to do Fiddler on the Roof. If
Oh
Wes was
wow.
doing Once Upon This Island, I was in the running for Tevier as a sophomore for Fiddler on the Roof. And I can even still belt it out. If I was a rich man, I mean, I still can do it occasionally. I can still do it occasionally. So then you
That's
take away a
awesome.
summer of depression, come to West, and I walk into that room, and you mentioned James, Michael Merchant, you mentioned something, Lakita,
No, they're
you
they're
name
not
dropped right
mediocre. I'm
there,
not talking
and
about them. I was talking about
no, they're
the
amazing.
rest of
They're
us.
amazing. But even
And
like,
Claudette.
but then you bring in some other guys, and I was just like, and then like basically there was no part for me for you guys, and they relegated me to backstage. So I'm building the sets with Joey Crawford and
Yeah.
Silas
Oh
and
my
everything
gosh,
like
I
that.
love
That's what
it.
I'm doing or
Yeah.
whatever. So it was like humbling for me to see. But I think you guys were outstanding. Everybody
Thanks. Yeah, they were.
you
I'm
you in
kidding. I hope I'm.
particular, I
I hope you
loved
know
your
I'm kidding.
I mean, no, yeah, and Colette, obviously Colette, who's done some amazing things, since her days at West, honestly.
It was
But yeah,
Lakita,
but
and,
Miss Leslie,
and
she
I
did
love it.
amazing stuff too. Yeah, yeah, but I know, thinking back to that musical. I mean, and I never even heard of Once Upon This Island, but then like now it's one of the big ones, but back then we were kind of like we took a play or a musical and really put it out there, and
Miss
it was
Howe.
very popular. Miss
Miss
Howe,
Howe.
Miss Howe,
They did a
yeah.
phenomenal job. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It was fun to be a part of it. I mean, it's fun to watch it. Just how big she was, and how much confidence she gave us. Like, I don't know. There was so Alice Compton, like the confidence she gave her, and she was just like, "You're good," and she was good. It was just all so
Hmm.
good, and I think that's the most.
JT Mayland as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
JT
yeah.
was
Oh,
yeah. Mhm.
how's he? How is he?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
neither.
lost track
I
of a
don't.
lot of these people.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember the young man. He was a senior, so you would have been a junior. I would have been a sophomore. The one with the long hair that played
Yeah.
the love interest
Yeah.
for Colette.
I can't
And
remember
I
his
can't think of his
name.
name off the top
Yeah.
of my head, but he was a phenomenal singer too,
No,
and
he was
and
phenomenal.
acting, and and yeah, yeah. I just it's cool to think back and reminisce. And like you, I have a VHS tape, and it's awesome, that it was recorded and everything like that. So yeah, I mean that's the thing. Things that are on VHS, those VCRs are hard to come by now. They're relics. Get it converted to a jump drive or something, as quickly as possible, because even DVDs aren't a sure thing anymore. They get
They're becoming
scratched and all that
obsolete.
stuff.
Yeah, you can't
They
find a
are.
place to
It's
play it. Yeah.
crazy. It is crazy. So, but yeah, and then you did the cheerleading thing too, which I always remember. You know what I always remembered of you guys? You all were always throwing free stuff to the crowd. Like I must have so many like little basketballs or little things that you guys threw to the student section. And hey, who doesn't like free stuff? And I don't know who paid for it, but damn it, you guys always like threw it out there and always entertained. And the things that you guys did, whether it was dance team or the step team or the cheerleaders. My God, did you guys, the work that you all put in that a lot of people probably didn't even realize, or the teachers that were, I guess, in charge or sponsors, whatever they were called, coaches even. I don't know how that all went, but talk about that too. You know, your days as a cheerleader for West.
Oh no, that was good old days. I have so many names I could rattle off. I'm not sure who all might watch this, but we were talking. There
Name
was
them.
a few of them that I ran into, and we're like, oh, Alice Compton. I just loved her in high school anyway. But we had to really rely on Tootie McCook. They don't make them like her.
Mm,
They don't make them. I know Alice is the coach at Gresham, or was. I think she recently left, but. Um, and I'm calling her by her maiden name. I'm sorry for not knowing her
oh,
last name.
you're
I'm not
fine.
sure if you remember who I'm saying about, but Tootie McCook and the parents for the cheerleading squad, the parents for these groups like the dance team and the step team. I mean, it's so important the roles that they play, and like you said, the teachers' aides, because they're not paid to do these things. A lot of the great things that
Mm-mm.
we get to throw out and everything came from the booster opportunities, or contributions from parents, and or fundraising that we had the opportunity to do. I think it was a really wonderful time being a cheerleader at West during the reign of Tootie McCook. And she
Yeah.
just was a lovely person. She was hard. I had her as a teacher too. She didn't. She wasn't going for any riffraff, and I think that's what made it even more special. She wanted us to just get along and to do well in the squad and outside of the squad in our personal lives. And I think that
Hmm.
she was a caring person, and that was so important. I see that in a lot of cheer coaches. You can't help it. You get with these young ladies, and you form relationships with them, and that's the one thing I noticed as I observed the Bearden Middle School. My son plays basketball at Bearden Middle School. He's a seventh grader there, and I really enjoy watching that cheer coach and the way she interacts with the girls. It just really reminds me of Tootie McCook. I like to watch, you know, the cheer, like I mentioned, Alice Compton, cheer coach at Gresham. Over the couple of years I've watched as she's been a coach, and my son's been a basketball player. And I think that's important. The relationships that those teachers' aides can develop with the students, the relationships the students develop with each other. I've got friends who are on Facebook I love to keep up with, who were cheerleaders with me, whether it be from Northwest Middle School to West High School,
Oh,
that I just really, really enjoy. And I still speak to when I'm out in the world. So my time as a cheerleader, it was so memorable. There were too many memories to regurgitate. And I think it was our days. We were, I think, an important part. There was a point when important part of the school culture, I'll say. There was even the year when Miss McCook decided to have cheerleaders for soccer. I think we did like 3 games before they were
I
over.
did not know that. You have just blown my mind. Okay.
Yep.
You just, wow.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was
All right.
freezing cold and sleeting, and they were still out there playing soccer. We were like this, and it was because Nick McCook, her son, played soccer, and so that somebody thought it would be a good idea to have cheerleaders, and the coaches hated us, the players hated us. They were like, by the third game, we were like, they're like, nah, we don't need cheerleaders. It was fun. One
Well,
game was
funny enough
warm.
story. Coach Gone and me see each other on Friday nights up in the press box. I'm gonna have to ask him the next time I see him and say, "Coach, did you guys really have cheerleaders?" What?
Yo, for
And he'll
three
think back
games.
on it, and for 3 games, and one of them was
Three.
sleeting for God's sake. So
We
wow.
were
Wow.
freezing
Well,
and mad.
I'm gonna tell you this. I love that you mentioned Tootie McCook being hard and so forth because maybe you can back me up on this. She walked in and you see her syllabus and holy crap and a paper and all this. But I'm gonna tell you this. You pass her class, English 101 and 102 in college is a breeze compared to
Yeah.
hers. I mean, paper, no problem. I
No,
had the
yeah. She wanted
hardest
us to be
paper I had to
prepared.
do in high school. So yeah,
Mm.
I mean,
She wanted us to be
uh,
prepared.
mm, mm.
That's classic.
But yeah.
That's classic Knox County schools right there, Tootie McCook.
It is. Well, that whole when we were there, Tinny, and we've talked with other guests about this as well, and I'm sure you can just share your thoughts on it. But it's amazing the teachers that were there at the time when we were walking those halls are now making the decisions. I still call it AJ building, but they've moved to the old TVA buildings or whatever. But it's like one of those things where those teachers prepared us, and now they're making the decisions, and they're not teachers anymore, but damn, did we have the best of the best. West really was best. I mean,
I
that's
think
what
when we
I
were
mean.
there, I do think that it's still a great school. Don't get me wrong. I really like Dr. Spees.
Oh yeah, they're
Man, you
fantastic.
walk
Yeah,
in that school, she's right there. Boom. That's
yeah.
leadership. There's so many things that I've seen her do that's just leadership. And that means a lot. Sorry, I've had a little tooth pain, but that
No,
means
no,
a
you're
lot.
fine.
I was like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah,
anyway.
no, yeah, well, and that's the other thing too. Like we have such they're so supportive of our show as well. Dr. Spees, the faculty, Mr. Carruthers, who was one of my
I love
favorite
that he's there.
teachers because he
Yeah.
was my psychology,
Yeah.
sociology, and it's awesome that they've come back in some capacity. Paul Romero, who's amazing athletic director for West, and what he's done in just his couple of years in that role, but he's been an assistant principal in other roles with that school for many years now. It attracts good up and coming teachers, and it's just crazy that the administrators, they go on to become principals at other schools, so it's still there churning them out, as I like to call it, in a good way,
No,
honestly.
certainly.
Influence.
But I'll
Yeah.
say in our era, we had the best of the best, especially our freshman year when they had the international UT student housing right there and
Hmm.
where the fields
Yeah.
are. And it literally was the most diverse, like it was literally the most diverse school in Knox County,
Mm.
economically, socially, just in all the categories that you can imagine. And we all blended, and that's what I really loved about what I would say my character, I hope, brought to my experience as a student at West High School. I wasn't from the richest part of the neighborhood, um, you know, I, but the way we were raised, we just did a lot of activities that made us have eclectic groups of friends. And Bridge Builders, one of the groups that you mentioned, that I was blessed to be a part of. Are you there?
I'm here. I'm listening.
I don't know. Maybe I
Yeah.
should keep going.
No, keep going. I'm listening. Oh yeah, yeah. Keep going. So yeah. Can you hear me? Okay. Oh, I think two pairs ready to come on. I think two pairs ready to come on today. Do you hear me okay? Do you hear me okay, Tinian?
I don't know if I'm off or you're off, if we're both off.
I hear you fine. No, I hear you fine. Two pair hears me okay. So, okay. I'm going to bring him on. Let me see. Let me see here. Just staying on 1 second and so forth. He was doing a little bit behind the scenes work, but he's ready to come on. I'm ready to bring on another Mr. 2003 West to join our Miss 2001 West, who's been telling us her story and so forth. But I want to bring him on. The one, the only two pair Tate. Brian Tate, what is up, baby? How you doing?
Man, what's going on, man? What's going on?
What is going on?
I was trying to get back to the city. I actually was doing some stuff close to Asheville, and then I had to get to Atlanta and come back. So I've been ripping and running. And when you said Tennion's gonna be on, I'm like, just let me get out of this studio real quick, because everybody want me to drop a 16 because this is the only time they can get me to do rap music. This is the only time you can get
Okay.
me now. And I said, I'm going to miss the first question to give Tennion tonight. And
Oh.
the first question, we done got 20 minutes into the show and I didn't even answer the first question.
Well, I've asked her softball questions, so you ask her the rough one. Go for it.
And what's
So,
the
so
rough one?
Tennion,
Oh no.
Tennion, I love you. I think you're amazing. I think you're one of the more talented people I've ever came across in life.
Oh, thank you.
But if there was a cheerleading competition or a singing competition, who was the first person to bust your ass?
From West?
Yes.
For anybody, yeah.
Anybody? Yeah.
Wait, okay, so cheerleading competition, who's gonna bust my butt?
Mm-hmm.
Trulia. She was a West alum. She could tumble
Trulia, yeah.
all day. Or
And
Abby Diddle. Abby Diddle's
oh,
gonna bust
Abby
that.
Diddle.
Becca Reynolds. She gonna flip
Becca
around me.
Reynolds.
She gonna flip her. You wanna talk about cheerleading? No, like white chicks. You wanna talk about my mama? Anyway,
Let me say this though. Let me say this. Like the women, I hold you, Ashley Bustle, Lakita Booker, Matia Matthews, Ashley Vaughts. You ladies gave me the appreciation.
That was the February of West High School cheerleading. You forgot.
Julia Miller, like
There you
I'm
go.
talking about. This is top of the line, like the Renita Gwynn's, the Davisha Moores, the like.
You're not even naming the greats like Trulia, Barbara. Let's see.
Reed.
There was oh my gosh, there's names. Denise. There were names I don't remember. Nikki Fryer, now Nikki Frank.
Yes. Yes, Nikki Fryer.
Gosh, there were so many names. Like there was one name. I think her name.
You sisters set the bar.
Very pretty
for the young Maya Beelers. You guys walked so they could run.
Until new anyway, I won't go there.
Yeah, that's true.
I won't go there. Tootie McCook was classic.
Tootie McCook, like that's one thing I will say.
Tootie McCook, man.
Just from knowing you, the Ashley Harbs, the Julia Millers, you know what I'm saying, it was just such a good group of young ladies.
Cassidy Blackstock,
Haley Blackstock, like the lineage of sisters, like your sisters, then
the Reynolds.
It was just a combination of family oriented that it felt like there was always going to be a Reed on the cheerleading team. There was always going to be a Reynolds. Awesome. There was always going to be a Bustle. There was always going to be a Booker. There was always going to be a Beeler. And you guys set a standard for young Black women.
Well, that's funny. Well, I think ultimately it was cheerleading. We had a great time. We really did. I think in a time where a lot of squads, I think it was, if we're going race, like a lot of squads in the area that were serious competitive squads, the Beards, the Farragut's.
Yeah.
The West Knoxville schools, like, you know, really Carnes, they were not very diverse. And to your point, now my sister Julia's class and her class before, I mean, they probably were one of the more diverse squads. What I think we brought, and what Trulia in 97, that kind of class brought more of, was the tumbling and the competitive aspects of it. But they kept their squads separate. And then I think our freshman year was one of the first years, maybe. I don't know. Don't get mad at me any years before.
We will not get mad at you. You are Miss West. You are Miss West.
Whatever.
You have full autonomy, ma'am. Full autonomy.
But we come.
Look at me. I'm between a Miss 2001 West and a Mr. 2003 West. Look at that. So yeah.
Hey, I was trying to holler at 2001 West, but no nothing.
Go there on the live, BT. Not on the live. Lord have mercy. No.
Just playing.
But no, we combined the two squads, so it was 24 of us, and we really got to compete. And I think that's one thing that we were talking about earlier on. I don't know if it was on the live or before, how we really were, in my opinion, athletes.
Yes.
But it was a lot of fun. I think cheerleading, there were so many things about West that made it pretty awesome to be a part of it. I never felt like I was this or I was that. I just loved being there. And I think what was really touching is hearing people and meeting people who, you know, might have run into me at the gas station, or what you said, James, about just how I made you feel. Maybe I made some people not feel so good, but I think there were times where we were young and we were growing and becoming young adults. So, but I've run into a few people who have said
Gideon, if that was, I've not heard one bad
Never.
words spoken about you
Oh, and it
from
doesn't matter.
anybody.
I've
No,
never,
no, I mean,
never,
no,
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 for real, never.
that if anybody
I don't know anybody
truly
can say a bad
met
word
you,
about you.
that's
I
not your
guess
character. No.
what my point is this, that it's heartwarming to get on calls like this with y'all, and the dedication that y'all put into our school and into the legacies that were there, even though they may be high school stories to some. It's cool to kind of think back and look
Reminisce.
back on it. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
appreciate you both, and I thank you for having me, and even considering my experience there is something worth talking about.
It was. I
Oh,
mean,
well,
think
no,
about
listen, it's awesome.
like think about student council. Think about bridge builders. You kind of change the landscape of diversity for our school. Like we didn't have that many black representatives on student council until like I saw you. I'm just
You were a
listing out
part of
some
it too.
like James Barr.
Yeah.
Like you know
Jane
what I'm
Barr,
saying?
yeah, my class, yep.
You see what I mean? Like
So, yeah.
you guys were putting an awareness on the African American students who didn't feel as if student council mattered, who didn't think bridge builders matter. All these things matter
Right.
because it is a way that you talk and communicate and articulate with anybody in the world, in the business world. Like if it wasn't for Teresa Nixon in leadership class, I wouldn't be a leader. I wouldn't close deals at all.
I wouldn't close deals.
I wouldn't close deals.
He's a,
Close
he's, he's a
deals.
deal closer.
But I get
He's a
it. I
deal
hear what you're
closer.
saying.
Well, you want to know something, Tennion? You did mention something just a few minutes ago, though. It's amazing, though, that like in those other schools that did have the representatives in the student council and the bridge builders. I mean, I'm not going to just throw this out there because I'm a half Spanish guy. A lot of people don't know that. Yes, my mom married a guy named Freeman, but I could have easily been Villarini, Catalano, or Maristani. Spanish was my first language. A lot of people don't know that.
No, a lot of people don't know
But
that.
the truth. Yeah, but a lot of but the truth of it is it's a very Caucasian type of representation at those other schools, and that's what the beautiful thing about West was, that everybody could be a friend. There were no cliques. I mean, yeah, you had your people, but I mean, I could listen to country with T.J. Blakely, and I could listen to some Anita Baker with Two Pair Tate or what have you.
I turned him on to that
Come
Anita
on now.
Baker. I turned him on to that Anita
I
Baker.
played it Sunday afternoon in my tears. I played it in my tears. When the team doesn't do good, we play. What is it? The Rapture of Love or
Caught in the
whatever.
rapture. I turned him on to Caught in the Rapture.
Damn it! So
you had your checkerboard
He hasn't
handkerchief.
been right since he got on that Anita Baker.
That
oh
is
man, I
so
love me some
funny.
Anita Baker. I love me some Anita
too.
Baker.
Me
So,
too.
yeah, and
Oh,
Sade.
yeah.
So Sade is where it's at.
Sade,
Smooth operator,
Sade.
baby.
Oh yeah, you are a big Sade fan.
Sade.
Yeah, I remember you said that.
Yeah, I am.
I remember you said you
Sade,
were a big Sade.
Sade. Yeah,
Sade. Yeah, how does she pronounce it? Like I've been saying it wrong all these years, but I have her greatest hits album. I'll rock out,
man.
but I don't care who makes fun of me for it. Damn it, it's
No,
good
no,
music.
No,
no.
I'm
So,
making fun of
shoot.
both of y'all.
Oh, this
please.
is our show. This
I'm
is
kidding.
Rebels with a cause to a T. Or
If
to a
you
W.
can't make fun of yourself with this crazy life, how it is and how depressing sometimes is, man, I don't got nothing for you. I'm sorry,
Exactly.
I got nothing for you. So,
Brian, I couldn't find my wig, so that's why I have mine.
we gotta talk about that.
I
said,
love
I
it.
just
I
said, how
love
do you
it.
lose a wig?
I love it. You don't even. You look like a Nubian princess. Oh my god.
She is. She's always
Oh
been
my
a
god. You
Nubian
look like
princess.
you look like caramel princess. Oh my
Don't
god.
have me cackling my gut laugh on the
Oh, no.
live.
Hey, by the way, I had look at it. I had a really nice banner that I've not even used all this time. What a schmuck
put
I
that
am. Look
banner
at
up,
that.
man. Let the people know.
Look at that. So
Let the
look at that.
people know.
So shoot.
Y'all are
I
funny.
love
Thanks for
I
having
love
me.
it.
This has
Let
been
the
fun.
people know.
Yeah, this has been great, and she wants to talk some sports with us too, Pair. So let me just
Let's
say
do
this:
it.
she's been keeping up with the tournament and everything. So I'm going to say this: the Final Four is set, but before we get into these unbelievable matchups of the four number ones, we're going to talk about this. We're going to need a Baker. What happened to the Vols? I mean, Houston's a damn good team, but come on, man, we were better than 15 points in one half, man.
No,
We should have
that
at least
was a
had
little
25
ridiculous.
or something.
That was a little embarrassing.
That was a little weak.
15
pretty
points.
Embarrassing.
Come on.
I can easily say
Houston's
that,
a
like,
good team.
I was gonna say, like I said when we were talking off camera, I've watched a lot of basketball in my years, from watching with my dad in NBA to watching my kids and watching as a cheerleader on the sideline. My, Brian. I was talking to James and my son about, I was talking to James and my son was sitting on the side listening, eating, and he heard me say, when you miss that many free throws, they're free. And he looks over his shoulder and says, "Can you do it?" And I said, "No, maybe not. But if I'm on that level, I understand the pressure and everything else. But I think, like James mentioned, missing layups and taking ambitious threes. There was a lot of many mistakes that, with those not being
Preaching.
mistakes, we win that game all day. But
Hmm.
Houston, they have a mental game they're playing. They're not just out there playing on skill, on coaching and luck. They're playing prepared. And I say this, and I have evidence. Anybody can go look on their YouTube or whatever, their Instagram pages. They showed this reel of them this morning and how they prepare. And they go and all can run a like 200 or 400 in under 4 minutes, or under 5 minutes, or five something crazy. And it was crazy, and they were all jacked and doing a great job. And I feel like the Vols, they did very poorly on a time when they needed to show up the most. Did we lose
Yeah, and
Brian?
that's what makes me mad. He'll jump back on. I think what makes me mad, Tinian, of anything of it, is you mentioned something. Yes, the pressures are there, but it's game 37 and you let that happen. You know what I mean? Like, I could understand if that was game 7, but the stakes are raised higher. I can see both sides of it. But that Houston team, I'm going to say this, and no disrespect to Auburn or Florida on the other side. The winner of the Houston Duke game is going to be your national champion Monday night.
I think it's between Duke and Florida.
I mean that.
I
Because
think I
both
think
those teams, the defense those two teams played, Duke smothered Alabama. I've never seen Alabama look so bad before all season long the way
I
they
agree
did.
with that.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm
So
I'm
whoever plays the better defense. So, yeah.
I'm with you on that. I can feel you on that. But then I don't like Florida. Don't get it wrong. I
Yeah, we know you don't. We know you
I
don't.
see Florida and their opportunities to really take it off. I can see it because they have a little bit of get back, and any game that they've lost, it's been very close, and they always fight. They fight for it. Now, here's the difference, though. What I see in Houston and Duke, Duke's played beautiful basketball, consistent basketball all season long. Houston has played literally consistent basketball all season. Florida has bounced around a
This
bit.
is
We
beautifully
already
said.
know Auburn's more consistent than Florida.
Mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Hmm.
mm,
It's way more consistent. Bruce Pearl, it coaches more intentionally than Florida's coach.
mm.
He's
She
he's a,
cooking.
he's a
She's
You're
little
cooking.
bringing it, man. I love this. I love it.
he's a little more there's a youth to Florida's coach, or a youthful spirit, I would say, that wouldn't outcoach Bruce Pearl. Now, when it comes down to Duke and Houston uh, Houston can outcoach all of those teams.
Kelvin Sampson, hell of a
Yes,
coach.
he's a
But
heck
I'm
of
gonna
a
say this
Calvin,
coach.
about
yeah.
Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
Florida won the SEC. Tennessee beat Auburn. You see what I mean? Like, a lot of stuff happened to tell a story of college basketball and why this tournament is special. Because the amount of SEC teams, 14, you got two in the
14.
Final Four.
It's pretty awesome,
Pretty awesome.
You had a chance to go all 4. You had a chance. You
Had
had
a
a
chance to
man.
chance. I
get
mean,
all 4 teams.
It wasn't meant to
yeah.
be.
It
It
wasn't meant to
wasn't meant
be.
to
It
be.
wasn't.
And what I will say about Tennessee, this group of seniors and the way they meshed, Meshack and Ziegler winning as many games as they won together, I think they're the winningest duo in UT history. They went
Yeah.
to back to
They
back
are.
Elite Eights. Like
Yep.
that's a
100%.
lot to say. Like that's a huge accomplishment because Tennessee has not got to that illustrious Final Four, and I think they're closer than what people realize. Just because of you look at B May's Elite, you look at the players that they get from those areas, you look at what Tennessee as a campus, as a university, they have everything you could want if you were in college.
Yep.
Hmm.
And they're
Yeah.
working.
They're
I think what
close.
I
I
love
agree with
about Knoxville now and the youth sports and the feeder idea, and I'm going here. So like with the whole creation of the MAC League, the middle school football, I see from the chatter that I hear and those that I know in the communities, the different coaches, and then of course with my son being the athlete that he is, I'm feeling like the university. I think I see in a culture a kind of setting in place where they're trying to find more local kids to pull into the system, to pull into.
you.
If you're not going to make it into UT as a walk on or as a scholarship player, but we don't necessarily want to lose you, why don't you go to another system school and then see how your grades go, or see what you how you do on that level, instead of going out of state to maybe a JCO or something like that. Maybe go to
Yes, ma'am.
UTC,
Yep.
maybe go to
Yep.
UT Martin or somewhere in the system. Now Pellissippi has the JCO sports.
That's
So
right.
I see a push, like
Mm.
they just committed, or they just made an offer to the sophomore from Halls, UT, the defensive back. I can't remember
Mhm.
his name, but I read it. Sorry, I'm like to, but yeah. So I feel like they're trying to localize that. I feel like um, mentioning programs like B Mays and those local tournaments that they're having for basketball, and having Rick Barnes all over social media being seen with those programs. It shows that there has to be a local interest to draw and keep people. I think also there's the transfer portal, and I
Oh
think that
yeah.
what UT is selling, that orange carpet that is easily rolled out, I think it's something that can be bought into, and Rick Barnes and his team have an opportunity every year to recruit top talent. I mean, look what we did with Chaz Lanier and his short time here as a ball, and he'll
And
be at
Dalton
USL
Connect.
forever now. Say it again.
And Dalton
I'm going to
Connect.
say this.
Mm-hmm. Dalton
Dalton
Connect.
Connect. Yep. Dalton Connect. Yeah. I'm going to say this real quick to piggyback off of what you both have just said. The fact is that this has just been an unreal year with these four teams in the Final Four. It's the Final Four for a reason. I mean, any other year, this Tennessee team probably gets to a Final Four, even maybe wins the whole thing. You know, there's been some weak champions in the last 10 years, you
I
know, and so
agree.
forth. And it's just one of those years that's unreal. And to talk about the transfer portal, Tinian and Two Pair, you and me have had tons of discussions about this. The fact is, you can go somewhere small for 1 year, blow up, and then if like one of the big schools maybe missed out on a prospect, they'll bring you in with a nice deal or whatever to make up for what that recruit they thought they had didn't come through. And this is a opportunity for anybody that you need to show out every game because somebody will find you. And with media, social media now, and your tapes are out there, your footage, sky's the limit if you put
Sky
the
is the
work in.
limit.
Really.
Everything is, what's your link? What's your huddle link? What's your Twitter link? What's
Mhm.
your tags, all the stuff, all the terminology I don't necessarily know, but I think it's interesting because there are folks who have seen athletes that I know based on what they're posting on their handles or whatever, you know what I'm saying, on their social media pages. And
Mhm.
um, I think when talking to coaches, when considering opportunities, it's interesting to see what they sell. You know,
Yes. What are you
it,
selling on the program?
I'm selling you on the
Mhm.
fact that I know other uh, coaches. I have a good network of strong trainers and alumni of this or that, or connections to people on the highest levels for that sport. Or it's selling you on, I did this on this level, I made it to that level. So, come and learn from me or play with the players that are learning from me because of what it will do for you. And I think when I think of the transfer portal and I think of even high school to college, specifically basketball, it just seems like even with all of that, whatever you're selling, you want to, a lot of these kids nowadays want to be sold, hey, you're gonna get to play. A lot of folks are focused on oh, this person's gonna get this NIL deal because they're a 5-star or they're this or they're that. When a lot of these real athletes are training, they're focused on, okay, where am I going to be able to go and make sure I can play? I want to play because I have a love for the sport, not because I have a love for the idea of how much money I can make. This is one thing that I always say when it comes to this transfer portal and stuff. I hope that if the athletes I know have the opportunities to find somewhere where they can have some loyalty, have some longevity and really build a career. These kids
Preach.
nowadays aren't
Preach.
necessarily developing under some strong leadership and having opportunities to build and establish a career. I don't want my particular son bounced around to different opportunities, reclassed, double classed, whatever, you know, um, but I'm not judging those who choose those
No,
directions
no,
and
no.
paths. I think it's everyone fits whatever system and works for them. But what I would hope is that I'm developing character so that
Yes.
there's some understanding of saying once you make a decision, a commitment, you're committed, and that you have some grounded measures. So transfers, yeah, it's a plus, and I think a benefit that is a right that all athletes should have for sure on all levels. You know what I'm saying? I think there should be some real consideration there and hope that character is what says, okay, I'm going to leave this program because it's a better system for me at this program for what I'm trying to do and develop as a player. You know what I mean? So I think all that comes down to just character and hoping that you're in the right space, in the right group to do well and excel. But I think everything is kind of a top down thing. And I hope I didn't go on a complete tangent. But
I
yeah.
love this. You keep talking. You know exactly because I was going to ask you. Obviously you have a son that's coming up, and he's an athlete. He does multiple sports, and there's going to be a decision whichever one he wants to maybe focus on that takes him to that next level. What would be as you as a mom like what would entrust you? Obviously, would it be his decision? Would you pray on it? Like a coach comes into your let's say for example Rick Barnes walks into your living room, okay, and so forth, and tells you something. But then you've got, I'm just going to throw a name out there. Bruce Pearl comes in there, and so forth. What would be what you're looking for him? Like you're going to trust this man to be almost like a father figure. Like while you're not going to be able to be there for 9 months, a year while they're off to school. What would go into that thought process, Tinian, for you as a mom?
Oh, well, we are praying people in our household. We ain't perfect. I don't ever act
Of
like we
course,
are, but
amen.
we love the Lord in this house, and Aiden is being raised to be a strong man of God. He's a believer, and of course, what I believe is it should be his choice. I think ultimately, I want him to have the relationship with God. That's what my parents did for us. They took us to church. Yes, they exposed us to church, but my dad
Amen.
was very educated. He had wanted us to have knowledge of and understanding of everything so we could make the choice and make choices that were conscientious. And it was just, we were blessed to have our parents. And so I try to instill those kinds of opportunities with mine. I feel like if I were to make the decision for him, I might be making the wrong one. And it's not because of a particular criteria of what I'm looking for in a person and a coach, as much as it's this character. You name
Mhm.
two people, it would be very hard for me to say no to either, because from what I observe, they have good character. I think Bruce Pearl, whatever judgments might have, whatever blossom, but I like his character. I like that he still roots for UT, and he's like,
Still,
I'm
still,
full with that. I think that is the
still.
biggest like leadership and example, like to say, okay, I parted ways, but I didn't part hearts. That's dope. Like, oh my gosh.
Mm.
I appreciate Rick Barnes in that he's a man of faith. He wears it on his sleeve. He's obviously pouring into the young men who come across his table with the faith-based doctrine that says, hey, we can do this, and on a high level. He's gotten us there. So, but what I look for in people is don't come in my face talking about other people. That's the first way to not talk to me for days or weeks. I will talk about circumstances and situations that happened to me, but I don't sit there and gossip and be like, ooh, did you hear the juicy? I don't like watching aggressive things. And anybody who's ever, like, parents that snap back at me, I always hit them with basically, what would Jesus do? I will Jesus you out. I ain't gonna cuss you out. I had to tell
I
one
love
parent,
it.
think about your kid. You're being an embarrassment. Stop talking to me, because they were mad because I said it wasn't a flagrant foul. I'm not going to embarrass my kid. I will cheer and root, but it's all in good team and team camaraderie. I might say a truth like, oh, that was a terrible play. But it's just the truth. I just cheer, and I sometimes sit beside myself and by myself, especially in football, so that nobody hears my criticisms, because I swear I'm a coach. I'm the mom coach. But I
Your
think
Can
mom
I
ultimately
say
coach,
we're
this real
looking
baby.
quick?
for
Your
a
mom
Honestly,
leader.
I
coaches
think there's more
Reed.
battles in the crowd. Well, I think there's more battles in the crowd than there is sometimes on the damn field or court. I don't
Yeah,
know, man. There's
yeah,
some
no,
rough
and it's
things
not
that are
worth
said
it.
that I hear. I mean,
It's not worth it.
woo!
I tell you, I tell parents, I
Yeah.
am not getting into
Mm.
it over eighth grade, seventh grade, middle school
Mm-mm.
sports. Not
Mm-mm.
and risk my
Shouldn't
freedom
have
and my
to.
love for life and my livelihood. But I'll tell you, integrity is what Aiden's father and I, we were just talking about this the other day. If someone calls you and all they're trying to do to convince you not to do something is tell you all the bad things they know about someone else, that's a red flag for folks like us. We are
I like
solid
that.
folks. We're a village around here, and we all see here. And what people don't realize is that a lot of people talk. I talk. I mean, we all talk. Y'all talk, Brian, and you talk about what's going on in the sports world. You talk about where's this coach and where's that coach and what's happening with Bearden and what's happening with
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catholic and what's
Yeah.
going on here, what's going on there. People talk. We understand. But at the same time, like, I might have my differences about someone. I'm not wishing bad on them, and I'm not going to talk bad about them in an environment where they can't defend themselves.
Class.
Anything
Class.
that I
Class.
say bad about somebody, or anything I say about someone, period, I will say it to their face. And if it has to be, I'll say it apologetically. I mean, to humble myself. If I might say something that seems wrong, I can say it, but maybe say, you know what, and I'm sorry. And then I think that's a part of what we're looking for in leadership for our kids, and the athletic world, academic world, the spiritual and faith world, people who have integrity.
Tinian, we got my buddy from Louisiana, Larry Frank. He's got a show called You Talk with Devin Lloyd. They do a lot of other shows as well on the You Talk network. So he had a comment because his mom had no filter when he played football. But Larry, he himself, man, he'll tell you what's up. So
Shout
Larry is
out to
a good dog.
Utah.
So
Shout
yeah,
out to Utah.
shout out
Shout
to
out to
you.
Big
Shout out.
Facts.
Shout
We
out to
gotta
your
talk.
mom.
Absolutely,
We gotta shout
absolutely.
out Big Facts in the 332 studios. We
Yeah,
gotta
I
shout
did
out to
that
them.
actually. I
Oh,
started
you
off the
did?
show with that. Oh yeah. No, I
Oh, okay.
gave our sponsors and even talking about prom right around the damn corner, get that haircut and get you a date or something. I can't believe it's already April. And
Mm.
here's the big one. Here's the big one that I wanted to with you. You'll appreciate this too, Tinny, and this banner that I created because it was it's well, I hope I saved it. Wait a minute. Wait, yeah, because I put it up here. That's what it was. West High spring football game versus Science Hill, Friday, May 9th at 6 p.m. at Bill
I'm
Wilson
there.
Field. So, yeah, I'm taking
I'm
that day
there.
off. I'm taking that day off, and we're going to do a live show from there. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, for
I'll
sure.
I'm there.
try to make that
I
for
hope,
sure.
yeah, and I think it would be awesome for Aiden to see, too, just to, that like this is what it's all about when you get to West and everything. So,
No, I'm
yeah,
trying
and
to think
Science Hill's a
if we're
traditionally a good
traveling.
program. So, yeah.
No, Science Hill's always historically been huge. I know. I'm trying to think. He travels. We do 7-on-7 football for him, and he does AAU basketball with True Hoops. And I think he's going to pick up and do some baseball. Sorry, I'm not supposed to be
Oh,
drinking
you're
Coke
fine.
after
Gosh.
my.
You're fine.
Carrie Reeves Carrie Reeves joining the podcast as well. I mean, look at that. So just all the shout outs. Michael Lynn was up there. I loved what Michael Lynn said. I don't know if you saw it. Laugh Out Loud didn't think Wig Talk would make it on the show, but then he also followed up
We've come a
with
long
No
way,
Limits
Mike.
on this show.
We've come a long way. Guess what? We gonna get Tenny as a correspondent with our show now.
I'll have my wig next.
I know who I need to
Hey, that
sit
is the
next to.
sexiest
So me and her
cornrows we've
can
ever
keep
had
each
on the
other.
show.
Wait, well, listen. Me and Tennion will keep each other, like what's that called? Censored.
Accountable.
So that way,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I'll know who I need to sit to in a couple years, sit next to, honestly. So yeah, for sure. But yeah.
Hair journeys.
Larry even had this comment, school years passing faster because we're grown. Funny how as teenagers, the time from Labor Day to Memorial Day seemed like it took decades to pass. The older we get, the faster time passes. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, no, I love when the chat box is hopping. I always got to throw that out there. So,
yeah, man, it's hopping, man.
Yeah, no, Carrie, you got to be there. It's going to be an amazing date for the spring game, May 9th, Friday, May 9th. So, yeah. Hopefully we get some good weather. Last year we had beautiful weather. You know what was going on last year, Tinian? We set up our game day there from Gibbs. People are looking around. We're having a great show. It was usually cool for a May night, And then what we didn't realize was that, and I'm going to butcher the name, that
regional game.
What was it,
the
green light in
Aurora
the sky?
The Aurora
Thank you. I can't even say it. Thank you. That's why you're on the show to say it for me. You said it better than I did. I butchered it. So I mean, but I was like, what's that green light? Like it was just one of those special nights, and probably one of our favorite episodes, honestly, when the show really took off last year. One of our most watched shows. So yeah,
congratulations.
Awesome,
so. I mean, we got to see
so this year.
We got to see the great Wyatt Axton, and look what he did this year. Like
yes, we did. Yeah, we did.
We got to see a guy from Gibbs, and we're covering West, and one of the best players we talked about all year played at Gibbs and was one of the top players in the city. So a lot what we do at this show, we're giving a lot of these kids media training because they don't know how to talk to the media. What do you do when microphones are coming in your face and you don't know how to talk to the media? That's what we provide. And we want to send out something for the West High Alumni Foundation. And what we do with our show is we help raise the money for all these activities that get thrown at West. So right here, Rebels with a Cause math. If 100 parents donated $30 a day for 365 days, you got close to $1 million. You do have $1 million. So what that says to the parent is, if there's 100 parents doing it in a freshman class, how about the sophomore class, the junior class, and the senior class? Parents do the same thing because there's 100 parents in each class. Do the math.
At least. I mean, yeah, and then you can even break it down even more to $10 for 300 parents, and so but I mean, the facilities there at West are second to none. They are second to none over there. And also, I do want to give a shout out to Bo Sutton and the other players' parents that really do some amazing.
Great job, Bo. Give it up for Bo Sutton, man. Give it up.
All the sports. So yeah.
Yeah, they're doing it like
sure. So,
James Bo Sutton is really, really got a lot of things going on for this Alumni Foundation. Because I love giving back to my school. I love giving back to West. I love giving back to Pellissippi State, which I'm there now, and I'm like a professor now, and I'm not even teaching a class. And I love UT. All these schools shape what you have now, an entity. And what we're able to do with Rebels with a Cause, what I'm able to do with Live from the Slab, it's all because West gave me so much. And when you get Tennion Reed on here, Tennion Reed, do you understand the capacity of my heart right now? Tennion Reed is on this show.
Mine too. And I hope that it invites other girls to come on as well in whatever sports they play.
Girls, y'all come. Girls come so you can be called a girl. I'm 42. And I love it. Thank you, James.
Look at that. Look.
Hey, and donate. I need to do better. Thank you, Brian, for that accountability there. and reminding me of the importance of giving and giving to the West High School Foundation. Thank you for those stats and that, just laying it out there like that, because it is important that we give back. I think that was one thing that James was asking me, parents and the teachers that don't get paid and volunteer. You guys, it's all important work. So thank you.
Yeah,
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 because
Tinian, you want to know something else that we've also talked about on this show? That the football team is fundraising for the expanding of the facilities. They've outgrown their locker room. When they created that facility, it was for 95 players. Well, now they have 150 kids
Oh,
signed
wow.
up from freshman to senior year. So the freshmen are actually using our old locker room that's really for soccer, the old field house. So they're
Yeah.
hoping to raise the money to expand so they can all stay in one building and really make team meeting rooms. I mean, it's a really professional thing there, and just so many great things with Coach Lamar Brown and Shavers, Scott Shavers over there, and the parents. Any donation they'll take so they can get to that goal. So every kid has their locker and a spot there too for the best program in the state, in my opinion. I'll take us against any private school anyway, any day of the week. So yeah, for sure. So
That's awesome.
but no,
yeah.
it's
All right. So yeah, go ahead, Two Bear. Go
no.
ahead.
What I
So
was
yeah.
saying is, Tinian, just from seeing your Knoxville Renaissance work, the work behind the scenes, and a lot of people don't know you are a big factor in the Super Friends in Atlanta coming together. A lot
I
of
was
people
not
don't
a big
even know
factor of them
this.
coming together. That's an exaggeration.
But you played a factor. You
I
got
did not. No, they were together.
oh, they were together
They were
before.
together when I was hired. They were
Ah,
together. I would never even front like that. That would be whack. But I will say that it was memorable, working with the Super Friends. I was an integral part in some of their early street team work with a company called Real Time Promotions. Now they had all their admin and their major folks, but we did everything from working for the Super Friends and specifically, Ludacris's label, and a lot of stuff with him. Then also going to do stuff for Army recruitment, the Coca Cola grand openings for events. That was pretty awesome. Then also working with a group called Akinis Queens. I helped with him, and that was with 1079. So that was really, really hot. 1079. That was really cool. Funny story. And I thought it was just an hour. I do kind of have to go because I haven't been feeling too well today, and I'm
oh
on.
no, no,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. We're about to end. Yeah.
but no.
No,
I
we're
do
about
have
to.
to share
Yeah.
this story. We I had plenty of memories from being in the music industry and working in those worlds and having those opportunities that I think a lot of people don't hear about because I don't go on and on about it. I'm not a big name dropper. But one morning I got the opportunity to be on the 1079 Hot 1079 morning show for the first time. Now they had brought me back. Thankfully that didn't ruin my shot. But I was so nervous. I was so nervous. So it was my first time going. I had to be there at 5 in the morning. So I get there and I just start coughing. And y'all have been in radio, so you know.
Mhm.
I was like, I can't
Hmm.
stop coughing. It was like acid reflux or something. It was just like, so I'm like, ah, ah, ah. So finally I go out in the hallway and I just like cough and cough and cough. And I'm so embarrassed. And I drink a bunch of water. And they had a whole like 5-6 minute segment just making fun of me on air live
Hmm.
because they were like, we got our intern in here. She can't breathe, y'all. And they, I mean, the comedian that was, they roasted my AWS. It was
Hmm.
hilarious, but it was a great, great, great icebreaker for me. I had great success. I really did as an independent artist and independent songwriter. I had blessings. God opened a lot of doors for me that I truly didn't walk through, I think, effectively. But with Knoxville Renaissance, that's passion work, and I've waned on doing some of those things with the city of Knoxville and for the state, and just some of those activities, just because my kids are getting older. I was very busy with trying to accommodate their schedules and trying to do
Hmm.
stuff for others. So it's a slow start to kind of get back into doing some of that passion work for me. Working, in human resources and doing all the that I enjoy to help others. But the music industry was a thoughtful time. It was very meaningful. I loved going to New York, and my cousin Kiana Thompson, also a WFL, she's a West High School graduate, and
I
Yeah,
remember that
Kiana
name. I
Thompson,
remember that name.
2001.
yeah,
Yep.
Kiana
yep.
Thompson, 2001.
Yep.
Yep. So thank God for her. She moved to New York, and it gave me the opportunity to start visiting her and making connections in that way. She worked at the Virgin Mega Stores. It was so dope. So it was lots of opportunities that I got because of her. And then, I give people their flowers. There was my friend Carrie. She went to UT with me when I first got from 2001 from West and went straight to UT for a couple semesters before getting the job in Atlanta. I met Carrie. We called her Scary Carrie. And she introduced me to people. She was from Chicago, but she introduced me from like Lil Flip and producer named Shorty P and Skinny Pimp and all these people who gave me opportunities because I could write rap and I could write R&B or I could write country. Worked with a man here named Cooter Daniels for a short amount of time. And of course, Daystar Productions, Scott West, and that contemporary Christian and country music. So I appreciate you for bringing that little bit of my history up.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Love
I
you,
love it.
boo.
Hey, listen. Thank you so much for coming
Thank you
on.
so much. Give it
And
up for Tennion
real
Reed.
quick, real, real quick, but before we let you leave, you got to throw up the W. But one more thing. Give me your Final Four prediction and your championship for the men's tournament. So Florida versus Auburn's the first game. Go.
Florida beats Auburn. It's going to be an
Okay.
overtime game. Florida beats
Oh
Auburn in
wow. Okay.
overtime. And if I'm right, send me some cookies. Um, Duke and Houston. I really think Houston's got this, but Duke has some size that I think
Yeah.
will be difficult for Houston. But I do think Houston has it, and I really pick in my bracket. I did pick Florida just because I
A lot of people
we
did.
do it. We do it before we do
Yeah.
it before the games start. You know what I'm saying? But I like Houston.
Yeah.
Houston's playing nicely. And if I were to be a parlay, or I'm just kidding, I know nothing about gambling and betting on parlay. But if I would definitely bet,
No,
if I knew how to do it, I would bet. I would bet again. Bet Houston and Florida in the final, and I would see Houston running away with it.
Oh, nice, nice. Good
nice,
call.
nice picks. Nice picks.
Nice
Good
pick.
call. Well, throw up that W. Go on and get out of here. Go do your thing, and we can't wait to see your kids continue the tradition
Thank you,
at West.
Tennion.
Honestly, so
Thanks for having me, guys.
thank you,
Take
Tinian.
care.
Thank you so much, Tennion.
You bet.
Bye.
Later. Bye.
How awesome
How
was that?
awesome was that, man? I mean, oh, and two pair, when you get a chance, go back to the beginning because we talked so much about, the cheerleading and the things that she did while at West. And I shared a story that she was one of my first friends there at West. Honestly, really welcomed me while I
Wow.
made that transition from Bearden to West. A lot of people don't know that because we were both in musical theater together. And we had geometry with Salee Reynolds. So I'm going to name drop that name or what have you, Salee Reynolds. So, but I mean, it's just such a small world. And I was so grateful to have her on, and she can come on
Yeah.
anytime again. I mean, she knew what
We're
she
gonna
was
make her a
talking about when
correspondent.
it
She doesn't
comes
know.
to the sports. So, oh yeah. Yeah, especially I got somebody I can sit with and talk ball with at these games. Well, as her son, comes up through the ranks, so it's going to be awesome. So part of a very special class. So yeah. So, real quick, Carrie, I don't know how much time you've got, two pair, but I do want to talk real quick about the Final Four. Carrie says I
I
have
got
Florida and
a.
Houston for the championship with
I got a
Florida
few. I
winning.
got
Not
like
a
a few
bad
minutes.
pick. Not a bad pick. So
I got like a few minutes. We can talk we can just we can
okay,
talk Final
all right. Well,
Four.
let's break it down. Let's break it down real quick. I mean, you got Auburn versus Florida. I'm going to tell you this. I thought Broom broke his wrist or his elbow kind of popped when he fell awkwardly against Michigan State. And I was just shocked when he came back out there. He makes a three-pointer, but his arm is still kind of dangling there. And the last I heard, Pearl said he wasn't going to practice Monday or Tuesday, but that he would be available to play for Saturday. I don't know how big of a difference that makes, but man, I just think Auburn needs Broom if they're going to beat Florida because I
Yeah,
don't think they can beat them without it. Am I
yeah.
wrong with that statement?
They want to
And
win.
the chat box can throw out their stuff too. So
I mean, if they want to win, he's gonna have to be an impact. He's gonna have to have some type of impact on the game if they want to win.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, you know, the other thing too is, and here's the thing, I know that teams match up better, but realistically, of the 4 1 seeds that are in this tournament or or that are in this Final Four, I should rather say, Florida to me has been the most disappointing team. I mean, if Texas Tech makes free throws, they're not even in this thing. They're not. And you know, Texas Tech, you know, is probably going to be thinking about that one for a lot of years if you're a fan or one of the players on that team.
Yeah, man.
But Florida found a way to win. I mean, they have Walter Clayton and Texas Tech didn't, and there's something to be said about having a superstar. But I'm wondering, does Florida turn it on this weekend? You know, now that the lights are on, or are they going to kind of do the same thing that they've done through these first 4 rounds? Because the competition level's in a different ballpark now, Two Pair.
Now it is. It is now. Like the competition level is increased each game. Like that's what I said about UT. UT shot themselves out of the game. You didn't understand that there was a first round, like first half barrage, and you cut it down to 10, and then you go away from what got you down to 10. You can't go outside in and expect to win against Houston. You got to go inside out. And they got away from that. Like you're not even using the guy that's like 7 foot. Like, and then I think Ziegler had trouble penetrating the lane because Houston defensively just gave a lot more on the perimeter than what we were playing with.
Their guards are wide. You know, they're wide-bodied guards. They you know, like Zakai was not only giving up height, but I'd say there was probably a 30 or 40 pound difference there too, in my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong with that, but I felt that was a difference too. And you're right, Two Pair. Why didn't you use the height over the top of them? I mean, yes, Houston has a front line of 3 guys that are 6'8". One guy comes in, they start 2 guys, and they're 6'8", 245, and every bit of 245. But at the end of the day, why didn't you use your height a little bit more? That's what I
That's
don't
all.
understand. And you know, speaking of that, thank you, Michael Lynn. So thank you as always, brother. Thank you for participating. You know, speaking of Duke and Houston, you know, Duke's got those freshman bigs, but that Common Malawach, who's 7'2", that's a problem. And they just throw it up
Problem.
to him and he dunks it down. He was dunking all over Alabama the other night. That I'd
Alabama,
never seen Alabama look so bad.
You know
So,
what?
yeah.
Alabama just couldn't. You can't recreate a night where they shot amazingly in the Sweet 16. Like you just can't recreate that night. That you needed that night the next night. You don't
You
need
did.
that night in
Yeah,
Sweet 16.
you would have needed all 114 points to beat that Duke team, honestly. I
That's what
mean,
I'm
yeah,
saying.
for sure. So,
Great show, man.
yeah,
Oh, we got one more game.
yeah, great show. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So real quick. Let me just do this. So with Auburn versus Florida, who do you got, Two Pair?
I like Florida a lot.
Yeah,
I like Florida.
I'm going to go with Florida because I picked them. I picked them in my bracket.
I picked them to win
in my bracket. I mean,
I just don't get me wrong. I think I would love to see
yeah,
Bruce.
yeah.
You guys know I'm a huge Pearl fan. Huge. And of course, what Stephen Pearl was for us for 1 year, it was one of the best basketball years I've ever announced. That was actually the first year that I announced a full season was when Stephen Pearl was there. But because I'm such a big Bruce Pearl fan, if Auburn wins, it would be by a few points. I just really think Florida is the most complete team that's not Duke. And I want to see Duke, Florida for all of the marbles and the chips. And I think Cooper Flagg becomes a household name if they do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. When I made my picks last week, I went with my brackets, and I did really well. I for teams, right? Tennessee not being the 4th team, but I'm gonna stick with my bracket. I think Florida beats Auburn. I love that Tennion said overtime. I wish we had Shane on the show because I would love to know when was the last time a Final Four team went into overtime, or a Final Four game went into overtime. I can't even think of that, honestly.
2008.
Was it Memphis against UCLA, or who was it, or Kansas, North
Memphis,
Carolina?
Kansas.
Kansas, North Carolina went to overtime?
You don't remember Memphis and
Huh.
Memphis, Kansas? Chalmers at the
Oh, well, that
shop?
was the championship. That was the championship. I was asking about the Final Four. I'm sorry, bud. I'm sorry. I was asking
Oh, no.
about the Final Four games. You're right about the championship. Chalmers, that's right. I remember that. But
Was
I'm
there ever
talking
a Final
overtime
Four
on the
going?
Saturday.
There has been. There has to
I
be.
can't remember. There has to be. I just can't remember it. So, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, for sure.
A good
So, I mean,
question.
yeah. Yeah, that'd be one that I'd have Shane look up or whatever. But then in the other game, I agree with Carrie. By the way, Carrie said it best. Or no, actually, it was Michael Lynn. Michael said it. Michael thinks that Houston wins, but I think the winner of the Duke Houston wins it, and he had Florida over Auburn. I'm gonna go with Duke versus Florida because that's what I had in the bracket. But I wouldn't be surprised if Houston and Kelvin Sampson get it done. I mean, they've been the bridesmaid before, and the way they play defense and the physicality. But two pair, I can also see Cooper Flagg, if he's engaged and he takes it to another level like they think, there's a reason you got that player. Like there's players and then there's players. So yeah, for sure. I mean, but. Great show. Great show. I think it's going to be a fantastic Saturday and Monday, no matter who gets there. These are the four best teams. They've been consistent all year, and hopefully the games live up to the hype. I will be very shocked if any of those teams runs away with this, but that's why they play the games, and obviously we'll bring it up and talk about it next Wednesday night when we come on. So, yeah, but
All right,
great
great.
show as always. Two pair, close us out, baby, honestly.
Hey,
So,
man, we had a
yeah.
great show. We had the lovely Tennion Reed. Look, people, love your life. Also, I want to tell people about this. There's a domino effect in life. Every action deserves a positive reaction because a negative reaction can turn everything a little different. So tonight, notice anything you say, but make sure it's positive. Rebels with a cause. We
Amen.
out. In the live, baby.